Exactly. That's it. You can take all the hitters and all the pitchers.
Call the meeting to order. So let's do introductions around the table.
I'll start. John Walsh, City Administrator.
Jennifer Massey, Mayor, and at this time, I also am going to declare a potential conflict of interest as my husband is a City of St. Helens police officer.
Iron Salas, citizen of St. Helens. Mark Gunderson, City Councilor.
Russ Hubbard, City Council.
Steve Toskey, Budget Committee Member.
Brendan Sundin, City Council.
Lou Mason, Budget Committee Member.
Gloria Butch, Finance Director and Budget Officer. And yeah,
Joseph Hogue, Acting Police Chief, St. Helens PD.
I'm Jennifer Dimshow, Community Development Project Manager.
Jennifer Johnson, Accounting.
Jamie Edwards, Accounting.
so the next order of business is to elect a chair for the Urban Renewal Budget Committee.
I nominate Steve Toskey for the chairman of the Urban Renewal Budget Committee.
I'll accept the nomination.
Second.
Second.
Is there another nomination? I didn't hear a second, did I? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear it. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Toskey is the chair of the Budget Committee.
All right then.
Committee for Urban Renewal Agency. Go ahead.
First order of business is approval of the minutes for the May 16, 2024 URA Budget Committee minutes. May 16, 2024, which is last year's last month.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second that.
Comments? Anybody want to comment or talk about the minutes? Okay, there's a motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. Opposed? Nobody. All right, the minutes are approved. Then now that's on the order of the business is public comment on proposed URA budget for this year, but Lori, do you think it'd be more appropriate for you to deliver the budget message before the comment on it?
However you'd like.
I think let's hear from you first.
Okay. We'll
Please.
go through the budget message. St. Helens Urban Renewal Agency Board of Directors, members of the Budget Committee, members of the St. Helens community. It is our pleasure to present to you the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget for the St. Helens Urban Renewal Agency. Fiscal year 2025 was the first year since the formation of the agency where funds were appropriated in categories other than in contingency. For the prior 8 years, the agency was collecting resources to ensure and enable the agency to advance the priority infrastructure projects identified in the adopted St. Helens Urban Renewal Agency Plan. This plan and project list is available on the city's website. The proposed budget appropriates $100,000 in capital outlay to finish the Riverfront District Streets and Utilities Extension Project and for Phase 1 of the Riverwalk Project. It also appropriates $15,000 in materials and services for an audit. These two projects focus on improving key streets and intersections in the downtown Riverfront District, extending utilities onto the city's riverfront property, and improvements along the Columbia River in Columbia View Park. These projects will set the groundwork for future public amenities and private investment on the city's riverfront property. For more information, see this project page on the city's website. The resources for project expenditure include a loan, an IFA loan, and grants administered by the state. Additionally, some eligible expenditures are accounted for in the city's SDC funds. As of June 30, 2025, draws from the IFA loan will be $14,556,856, which is the balance of the loan. Maximum indebtedness for the agency is $62 million. This is measured by the project expenditures of the agency. By June 30, 2025, the amount of MI used by the agency is expected to be $18,104,496. Project expenditures that are financed by system development charges are not counted against the MI. The agency property tax, which is considered TIF revenue, for fiscal years 2024 and 2025 declined due to the departure of Cascades Tissue. However, the sale of the old mill site is expected to close in June 2025. Private investment on the city's waterfront redevelopment project and reactivation at the former Armstrong World Industries site all have potential to improve the financial outlook for the agency in the long term. In the future, the city of St. Helens may request reimbursement of expenses from previous years that were related to the agency. Currently, city staff is recommending that it wait to seek any reimbursement of agency expenses from previous years to ensure sufficient reserves are accrued to make loan payments when they come due. These expenses can include agency planning fees and professional services, along with a percentage of staff time that was used to create and administer the agency. These expenses are tracked in our financial system if the city chooses to seek reimbursement in the future from the agency. Sincerely, John Walsh, Agency Administrator; Gloria Butch, Agency Finance Director; Jennifer Dimshow, Agency Secretary and Community Development Project Manager.
Thank you, Gloria. And then now we will hear public comment on the proposed URA budget. Anybody here would like to comment on the proposed Urban Renewal Agency budget?
Ready for your hand. So the problem with the budget is, first of all, I think it's now off because I think it was just last council meeting in the regular session that you amended the budget to 23 million. So the supplemental budget that the council approved. So I think that your number is off. I guess that will be reflected on next year's budget. I don't know when that gets updated, but I know that you updated that amount. And of course, the biggest problem is without Cascades coming, you don't have the money to repay this loan. You can repay the interest, but you don't have money to repay the loan. It's a big problem that we don't have the industry here. We all know industry is a problem. We need to get the development here to be able to pay for this waterfront, which should never have been it in the first place, even though I supported the waterfront development, but we can't afford it. The issue now is, what do we do? And I think the simple thing is, as our former mayor said, it's stupid to be paying, borrowing money on a credit card when you have cash in your pocket. We should devote the money that we borrowed and paid $650,000 or $80,000 because we didn't use the money. You should move the police station money onto the waterfront so that we can manage this debt and not increase any more debt that we cannot pay.
Thank you, Brady. Any other public comments regarding the Urban Renewal URA budget in the room? Is there anybody on Zoom? Okay, then that will end the public comment public comment, and then let's have it. Then I'm just going to open up for discussion and approval of the 25-26 URA budget. And I have some questions, but I'll allow anybody else who has questions. If anybody here would like to ask any questions of staff, Mayor
I'd like
Mazzi?
to just get a response from Gloria on the public comment on
As
the
far as-
22 million and speaking to the interest portion of that as well.
So I'm not sure what he was referring to on 22 million and
Was it maybe the supplemental that we approved? Is that what that was?
I can speak to that. So we did amend the IFA loan that's referenced in the budget message, but the amendment was accounting for our match. So the loan never increased from the number you see in the budget message of 14.5 million. But we had to account for all of our system development charge matches, which were accounted for in previous year's budgets. Our grants, which increased during the life of the loan, both from the state, and then all of our other city matching funds.
I think I clarified twice during that meeting that this didn't increase
The
the,
loan has never increased.
and I don't know if we want to speak anything to the concern on the interest and paying the debt service of this at all.
So as far as that goes, as long as we continue to collect taxes and don't consider reimbursing the city yet at this time on administrative expenses, and in addition, we do not start paying on that loan for 3 years and following the close of the loan, which is set to be, I believe, October.
Soon. Yeah, that's what our amendment.
So 3 years from October of this year is our first debt service payment.
So the agency will collect revenues in anticipation of our first debt service payment, which is 3 years from October. Just to summarize.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, I had, does anybody else have any, thank you, Mayor Massey, anybody else have any questions?
In 3 years, what will that payment be?
So the permanent financing rate hasn't been set yet, but there is an estimated rate. I don't know if you can speak to that, Gloria.
I don't recall what that is.
I thought there was something you mapped out in the
We did.
budget. I thought it was in the budget, I'm not sure in our.
No, we have it in the. do
The
we
loan
have it in-
contract
Yeah,
has an estimated debt repayment schedule, but it's not finalized until the permanent financing is in place, and that would be after we close the project out.
and I don't recall what the estimate was.
I thought the debt service was gonna be, this is my recollection, just tell me if it's wrong, 1.2 million a year was going to be the debt
It
service.
was under $1 million.
Yeah.
Under a
I'm
million.
certain of that. I just don't want to misspeak of the number.
Okay. So estimated would be just an estimate, 8, 9, could we estimate at $1 million and then that would be,
We could, that would be high.
okay, all right. Any other questions or from, and then I had a question about, does the URA anticipate needing more money for any further projects this year? Like, or is the URA anticipating borrowing more money in order to do something else? That
Not in the near future.
So,
Not until we've accrued enough money to cover the debt service that we have on the books now. And as far as I know, there's not any plans on in the near future for any more development.
Yeah, that's correct. We're, then one priority is to make sure we can cover this debt.
okay, all right. I think that's, I mean, this is a comment period as well as a question period. I think that's prudent. I think that we've done a great job on the waterfront so far. Looks great. And we got it done. We got it done in budget. And then I think it's good to try to get some investment going. Get that.
The city has made some progress, but we have.
Sorry about that, guys.
So Gloria, I had asked you, just as an example, and I think this is something that I wanted to share anyway in our general budget discussion about what we can, so we get, the idea of the urban renewal agency is when there is development, we get more taxes than we otherwise would for properties that are developed within the area of the urban renewal project.
Right.
And then I think I'd asked you, and I don't have those things in front of me, but it was like, I think I said, like a $45 million assessed value would bring in, I think you said around 600,000 and
Yeah, I believe that was about right.
500,000. Right, so if we kind of use as a roadmap to think about the future, we get $45 million in assessed value in the next block, for example, there's a development. We would get 600,000 in tax revenues. Just generally rule of thumb, I mean, it's not exact, so in order to meet the $1 million or less than $1 million, we're gonna be looking for that kind of, at least beginning that kind of investment, is that? That's
Well,
my question on
and-
the URA.
The industrial area to anything that goes in there in the industrial business park will increase what we're receiving currently.
Doesn't the URA go up to Holton too? Or it goes up to Holton?
I don't know. Is that
It
the-
does, it's along the highway too.
Yeah.
It follows our commercial corridors.
Okay. All right, so the plan now is let's get some investment going and then let's get some money coming in from the taxes. And it sounds like we have 3 years before we have to make the first payment.
Yeah. And that first debt payment will include accrued interest that has accrued on, as we've drawn on that loan. That interest accrual starts at the first draw and accrues through the project. And until that first payment, that interest will be accruing.
And I think we can, is there some limitation on how much we can collect from urban renewal? Like, the amount of expenditures caps us on the amount that we can get on this lion's share of the taxes that we would normally be sharing.
Right, it's tax increment financing and it is a portion. Can you speak a little bit more about the tax?
Well, it's just, I just to answer the question explicitly, our maximum indebtedness is what limits how much the agency can spend. You can't spend more than the 62 million, which was adopted in the 2017 plan.
Right, what I'm wondering is though, is that, let's say we spent 20 million, that's our,
Sure.
then we've collected 20 million in the extra taxes. Does that end our ability to collect more even though we're not at the end of the time frame? In other words, do our expenditures limit our ability to collect more? That was the question.
Yes. The limitation on urban renewal is maximum indebtedness. That's the 62 million.
Maximum density, okay.
Yeah, that's,
What if you don't borrow the money though? Can you keep collecting up to 62 million? That's the question.
yeah, it's based on expenses.
All right, so it's important that we keep track of the staff expenses and then I know there are other things that may come up in planning and, there's other projects, but I think this is only a comment that as the council goes forward, let's be mindful that we should try to tag as many expenses as we can to the urban renewal. So when we start collecting money, and we are gonna collect money, there are gonna be people who are gonna build here and it's gonna be successful, that we can collect back.
Right.
Okay, those are all the questions I had. Any further comment or questions on the URA? Okay, all right, so then it sounds like apparently now I'm being prompted to look for a motion, one or the other. What are the pros and cons of these two options?
Let's see.
Under move to approve the budget in the amount of $743,000 and approve that the agency levy the maximum incremental tax revenue as provided under state law, or move to approve the 2025-2026 budget for the city of St. Helens urban renewal as amended and approved.
So we're not amending, so it would be the first one.
Okay, all right. Does anybody want to make a motion on number one, option one?
Yeah, I move to approve the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget for the City of St. Helens Urban Renewal Agency in the amount of $743,056 and approve that the agency levy the maximum incremental tax revenue as provided under state law.
I hear a second? We need a second on that.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And I'm abstaining from this, so as far as the vote for the budget, I'm just gonna abstain from it.
All right,
For-
the mayor abstains.
Yeah, just because potential conflict of interest with my husband being the city.
All right then, there's no other, I move to adjourn the meetings. Anybody have any issues with that?
Take a vote.
Okay, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Hang on, we need the vote on the motion.
Oh, I thought I already did. Okay, all in favor, aye, say aye.
Aye.
That's on Ivan's motion. Those opposed? None. And then Mayor Massey already indicated her abstention. Okay, then now having conducted all the business of the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee meeting, does anybody here have any disagreement with adjourning?